Pecha Kucha 4, Collage and Bela Lugosi. Yeah, Collage has been the major focus of this week. Both of my university sessions in my main studio have been on Collage, so that's what I had to do, so that's what I've got to show. And we'll get to Bela Lugosi, don't you worry. Yeah, so Quentin Blake, illustrator of Roald Dahl books. I want to do something in his style. I think it's very possible. It's just mostly ink pen and some watercolor. I could probably ape this quite quickly on Photoshop. I'll talk about what I want to use it for when I use it. So collage brief one was to use collage to create visual metaphors, as well as considering sort of specific compositional tools, such as the rule of thirds and the diagonal method. So we were asked to make imagery based on a specific phrase given to us from sort of certain texts based on Southampton. So the phrase I ended up picking was obsessed with morbidity, sort of like overly focusing on the frailty of the human body and disease, things like that. So here's the first little quick visual metaphor. Woman looks in the mirror, sees death. Yeah, look at the hand. It's kind of crap, but this is what happens when you give yourself 20 seconds to do something on Photoshop that probably needs a minute and a half. Still, these things are supposed to be kind of spontaneous. Yes, watermarks and me, I'm not bothered. I just grabbed that stuff off Google. So, woman looking at a withered apple. The decay juxtaposing her beauty. Not sure if the background has any relevance, I forget. Probably to go towards desolation. Yeah, we were forced to, not forced is a strong word, but we were asked to make text-only images. I tried to do a kind of thin, sinewy text for morbidity, but honestly, text as image is just not really my strong point. I'd rather do calligrams, just make an image out of text. I think there's something about this cut-out text on top of this like polar bear that is distressed. I can't quite put my finger on what I like about this. It's probably that the image I like a lot, and then just the cut-out stuff turns it into art. Yeah, so I don't usually do things craft style, but this is I just cut some paper up, some different coloured paper, stuck it down, and had another go at sort of the woman looking at the withered apple, trying to use kind of line work to symbolise those elements. I think it's quite nice. Here's a more abstract version of the same thing, where the woman's face isn't even fully realised. Having seen the images of the woman looking into the mirror, this probably makes sense. I don't know if it would make sense if you hadn't seen the woman looking into the mirror from earlier. But, art is sometimes in not understanding. Dissertation Studio asked us to create a narrative using these two images of a dog, one image per page. Just a simple cartoon to kind of show that you can get a lot out of a little. Very interesting mental exercise. So here's my first of two. Postmen are a superstitious and cowardly lot. So my disguise must be able to strike terror into their hearts. I must be a creature of the night, black, terrible. I will become, yeah, you've guessed it. I'm such a Batman mark, right? Bat dog. Actually, that sounds stupid. How about Dogman? Okay, maybe I'll just stick with Barry. Yeah, just knocked it out, Photoshop. Just drew straight on top. This is kind of what we were asked to do. It was made very clear to spend no more than like an hour max on these things. So, yeah. Another thing we were asked to do was to illustrate the following. A man getting up from a desk, closing his laptop, walking into his living room. His girlfriend asks from the top of a spiral staircase, what time is it? The guy answers 1:15. Then he crosses to the kitchen but forgets what he went in for. Here's mine. Dracula closes his laptop. He's in his living room. Spiral staircase. The type you find in the castle. Big old stair. looks at the time. Mickey Mouse says it's 1:15, crosses the living room, goes to the kitchen, but doesn't remember what he came for. So this is Bela Lugosi. He is Dracula before Christopher Lee. We're going circa 1930s. I felt like, when I saw this image on Google, I felt like I knew this guy, but I've never seen any film he's in. And usually you see Hammer Horror Dracula, so I was thinking, where do I have this feeling that I know who this guy is from? And then I remembered I've seen Ed Wood. And one of the Oscars this film got was for Best Supporting Actor. Martin Landau actually plays Bela Lugosi as an aged, defunct actor given one last shot with Ed Wood, the worst director Hollywood has ever known, who's also a transvestite, perfect for Johnny Depp. Something else I saw this week was someone doing a speed painting of Geralt of Rivia, and it reminds me of what I'm really supposed to be doing, especially now I have a YouTube channel, instead of cutting up paper and all of this business. But, you know, I've only got as much time as I've got. We'll get to this. Something ambitious that I'm thinking about is Spider-Man for All Seasons, in the vein of Superman for All Seasons. A seminal Spider-Man story. I'm trying to figure out what that is, how to tell it, what scale, who to include. Early days, but I've got high hopes. We'll see if I can find the time to do it justice. My to-do list, things I'd like to do next week but probably won't. Spider-Man for All Seasons, the t-shirt designs I have, because Stone Cold's feeling kind of lonely all by himself. Finding a program to do an Optimus Prime voice. I think I've got at least 2. I need to get on that. Digital recoloring of tonal work is something. I'm intending to use Photoshop to recolor tonal work so I can have color variants. I've made the assumption that I know how to do this. I need to check. Obviously, the Smiley Show, I need to keep up on that. I also need to set up a camera so I can record me drawing when I'm not doing it on the computer, because I very much think that's a good thing to have and a good thing to show. Process is just cool to see people do. Okay, so that's us for this week. See you next time.